expand our imagination.
Justification for being what you are.
And welcome again to Washington Unplugged. Bob Schieffer here. Well, this afternoon, President Obama is going to devote 1 hour to youth voters with a town hall airing on MTV, BET, and country music CMT. We're going to get a behind-the-scenes look at that with the host, MTV's Sway. Obama's hitting the campaign trail hard this week. We'll discuss his campaign schedule and his focus on youth voters with CBS News' Mark Knoller from the White House, plus Vote Again 2010 Sara Haile-Mariam and Young Invincibles Aaron Smith. We'll close today with a special edition of our series Unplugged Under 40. But first, CBS News' Christine DeLargy was on the set of President Obama's Youth Town Hall yesterday, where she caught up with the host, MTV's Sway Calloway, and BET's April Woodward. Let's take a look.
We're here now with Sway Calloway from MTV. He's one of the hosts of President Obama's hour-long Youth Town Hall held right here. So why is it important for President Obama to reach out to young people?
Well, I mean, I think part of the reason, because young people have tremendous concerns about the status of this country right now. When we put the call out to President Obama years ago, he came to the forefront, as well as did other candidates, and did a forum similar to this. And we put a call out to our audience to find out what are they most concerned about. The job market, the economy, education, all these issues are important. So anytime you have a sitting president that's willing to reach out and confront young people, I think is a good thing.
We are about 20 days out from Election Day. This is a pretty critical time in the midterm elections. This is a kind of a risk for President Obama. Young people don't necessarily come out to vote the same way that other demographics do. Do you think this is a smart move this close to Election Day to spend this much time with young people?
I think it's a smart move for any sitting president to talk to his constituents. You know, in his case, in 2008, you had the largest turnout from young voters in history, so it's arguably they're the ones who put him in office.
Right now there's an enthusiasm gap, and so he wants to kind of get them back in and realize that these midterm elections are really crucial, and almost as crucial as the presidential election.
So are you confident then that these youth voters are going to come out on Election Day?
I can't say that I am confident they're going to come out. I think maybe he'll change a few minds. Hopefully he'll change a few minds, and hopefully we'll change some minds too, because I think it's everybody's duty, it's their civic duty to go out and vote.
Tell us about how you are seating this audience. How did you find members for the audience, and how are they going to give their questions to President Obama?
We partnered up with CMT, which is our sister station in BET, and with MTV as well, and our teams went out and found a diverse representation of young Americans from different backgrounds, different ethnicities, different political viewpoints. We have nothing to do with their questions. You know, we'll take questions from the audience about different topics and let them fire away at the president, and it's up to him to ask how he's going to answer them.
Bill Clinton did a similar event with MTV. P. Diddy interviewed actually President Obama when he was a senator in 2004.
Yeah.
John Kerry did one in 2008. Seems like a lot of Democrats. Does MTV open up this opportunity to both parties?
I mean, we spoke to Newt Gingrich in the past. We spoke with George Bush in the past. We put out the request, and who respond is who we'll showcase. You know, it doesn't matter. It's not about Republicans. It's not about Democrats or Tea Party or any other party. It's about representation of young Americans and the issues that are important to them.
They're very confused about health care. Some people know that they can stay on their parents' health care until they're 26, but they don't understand when that's happening and how soon and when it affects them. So they really have some serious questions, and President Obama has some serious things to answer.
Actually, at an MTV event that Bill Clinton famously talked about his past with marijuana.
Would you inhale?
Sure, if I could. I tried before.
Marijuana is still illegal here. Is that an issue that you have gotten some feedback from potential audience members?
Absolutely. Some of the issues that people wrote in about or tweeted about had to do with legalizing marijuana. It had to do about the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. It had to do about veteran issues, education, the economy.
Right.
Jobs.
Economy, which was the biggest issue of this.
Absolutely. The economy and jobs. I think we're all concerned about that. And I think it's time to hear from our president, as much as we possibly can. And this is the perfect platform to do it. Something we've done since 2000. It's in our DNA. with MTV. It's not just about reality shows.
Have you met President Obama before? Is this going to be your first time?
No, I have met him, but I have had to yell, President Obama, answer my question. So fortunately, I'll be standing as close to him as I am to you, and what an exciting and thrilling experience as a journalist.
So before we wrap, why don't you tell us a little bit about the set that we see right behind us?
Okay, so what you're seeing, this is going to be where the forum is going to be held. It's going to be filled with over 200 young Americans who are going to just ask questions of the president. He'll stand in the middle right there. We also have a station where Katie Cook from CMT will be monitoring the Twitter response. So we're going to get live questions while the forum is taking place, and she'll read them. And this is it. You get to see it being made. Christine, what do you think?
Looks good. Looks good so far.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we want to take a closer look now at this effort by the president to get out the youth vote. And joining me from the White House, CBS News' Mark Knoller in the rain today. Here with me in our studio, Vote Again 2010, Sara Haile-Mariam, and Young Invincibles, Aaron Smith. These are two groups focused on keeping the momentum that young voters had in 2008 alive in these midterm elections. Mark, I'll start with you. Tell us what the president's going to be doing now. He's going to the MTV thing this afternoon. What happens after that?
Well, it's a town meeting. President Obama will be taking questions from an in-studio audience put together by MTV, BET, the Black Entertainment Network, and CMT, the Country Music Television Network. And there'll be about 250 people there. And what President Obama is really doing, this is billed as a youth town hall, Bob. And what President Obama has been doing in going to college campuses is reaching out to young people, trying to let them know what is at stake for them in the midterm elections, and hoping that they'll vote Democratic if they vote.
How many more of these stops aimed at youth and younger voters do we expect here?
Well, there are certainly several in the upcoming days. On Sunday, President Obama and the First Lady will be doing their first joint campaign appearance since the presidential election, when they go to Ohio State University in Columbus, Ohio, reaching out to students there, telling them what's at stake, telling them they need to vote Democratic in the election.
All right. Well, Mark, we're going to let you go now because I know you're out there and it's a very hard rain out there. I was just outside and I know where you're standing. So
always glad to be with you, Bob.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mark. Well, let me turn now to Sara and Aaron. Sara, you two made kind of a public service announcement, didn't you? Your two organizations coming together. Why don't we just start by taking a look at that?
Say something really important, but really quick. I'm not going to preach to you. But we did something really special this year. Just show that our generation changed the world. Never happened before. So we absolutely changed the world. We changed the world. So it just goes to show anything is possible. Fight for what's right. Fight for what you believe in. And stay forever young.
Okay, well, tell me, guys, now, you got to tell me who, that's a famous rapper, right?
Jay-Z.
Jay-Z, okay.
I should clarify. So I work at Campus Progress, Aaron's at Young Invincibles. We're all a part of Vote Again 2010, which is a coalition of 30 youth organizations and media partners working to increase youth turnout this fall. That specific ad was created by Headcount, which is one of our Vote Again partners, and it features Jay-Z, who was incredibly active in 2008, basically stating a fact. Young voters changed the world, not just in 2008, but in the several elections that preceded it. Young people have been turning out. And fundamentally, what we've realized is that if you target young voters, they do turn out. I'm thrilled to see the president doing that himself as well. But our organizations are also working on just speaking to our peers and telling them what's at stake this November 2nd.
Another thing that is a fact is that while young voters did turn out in the presidential election, they don't normally turn out in great numbers in midterm elections. I would guess that's your biggest challenge here, is to stress to them that these midterms are as important as presidential.
Absolutely, and that was part of our work at Young Invincibles, is talking about the importance of healthcare reform and how that has really impacted the lives of millions of young people. You think about the new law that lets you stay in your parents' plan up to 26. That's a real lifeline for young people who are struggling in a very tough economy. And so the message we're trying to get out there is there's a tremendous amount at stake, and therefore you really do need to be involved in this election.
What's the biggest challenge for you in getting young people out there?
I think it's a lot of what you just said. A lot of people are speculating that since President Obama isn't at the top of the ticket, they attribute youth turnout in 2008 to his presence on the ticket. But if you look at exit poll data from 2008, you'll find that 70% of young voters indicated that the candidates' positions on the issues were the most important factor in what they in who they decided to support. Fundamentally, the issues are on the ballot this November 2nd. The ad that we created, Campus Progress Action and Young Invincibles, is focused on talking about there are some people who want to repeal health care reform, energy reform, don't ask, don't tell, the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, whether or not we're going to take care of our veterans. All of those things occur in legislation which is voted on by members of Congress. We have the power to vote for or against them.
Aaron, I think everybody would agree that the #1 issue out there is jobs and the economy. But is that also true for young voters? What are the things they're most interested in?
I think jobs is definitely #1 for young people as well. The unemployment rate for young people is, I believe it's about 18% for 16 to 24-year-olds, so it's at extremely high levels, and young people are struggling just like all Americans. So from that standpoint, this election just becomes even more important. But frankly, we think that healthcare and the economy and jobs are very interrelated. Many of young people don't have jobs that offer health insurance, so having this new option is a tremendous benefit.
Well, you're both great spokesmen, so thank you for what you're doing, trying to get people out to vote, not in a partisan way, but just trying to get them to the polls. That's a good thing to be doing. Thank you both for being with us.
Thanks, Bob.
Finally, today we mark a special anniversary. Kaylee Hartung's series, Unplugged Under 40, is now into its 2nd year, and here's Kaylee with some of the details.
When we launched our series, Unplugged Under 40, the idea was to talk to young people with an interesting story to tell. Interviews have taken me from the halls of Congress to cupcake bakeries. 1 year later, we thought it would be fun to catch up with some of our favorites.
I remember buzzing
when we
the
started
gate
tracking
saying,
the Washington Under 40 crowd, one of our first stops was at the White House.
New people, White House.
Jen Psaki was the youngest deputy press secretary.
I was even born.
1 year later, she has a new job and a new office. Jen is now the deputy communications director.
The difference between press and communications, though, is that the press office is working with, they're the daily firing line. They are the people that reporters rush in and ask, for confirmation of breaking news. They're asking for a comment on a global event. And communications is longer term. We try to think about what the best way to convey to the American people what the president's plan is, whether it's for the economy, whether it's for a foreign policy issue.
And how about that new office?
Now, I'm incredibly lucky that I have a view of the West Wing lobby entry. One day I looked out my window and I was on the phone, and Derek Jeter and the Yankees were doing a press conference outside, and I thought to myself, this is a moment I will remember.
Derek Jeter aside, Jen says one of the best things about her job is the people she meets who work for the government.
I've had the opportunity to meet so many people in the administration I never would have had contact with. So there are scientists who are experts on issues that no one has ever heard of, but you assume there's someone in the government doing it, and I get to meet them sometimes.
Jen is always on the move, but even she doesn't move as fast as the group of 20-somethings behind Summit Series.
Hey, we are in Tel Aviv.
We track them down on Skype. They've gone global.
We're going to be doing a big Europe summit this next July. And so we've been traveling all across Europe, from Barcelona to Madrid to Amsterdam. We're in Dubrovnik, Croatia. We're in London. Now we're in Tel Aviv, meeting incredible entrepreneurs.
They're now connecting young entrepreneurs all over the world.
So there's so much tech going on here in Tel Aviv, and we met Shai Agassi, and he has a company called Better Place, and basically he is trying to rid the world's dependence on oil, and he's going to try and do that by creating a practical electric car, and he's just one of the types of people that we've met on this journey that we're going to bring into our community.
How do you make the next Summit Series better than the last?
We're doing an event, the next event, truly in an isolated place where people will be there for 3 days. They'll all be together. But I'll give you a clue. We're all big fans of warm weather, and we all really like the ocean. And we like getting people to fun places.
Back in Washington, we found someone they might just want to invite to that next summit. Chef Spike Mendelson.
Your real estate on Capitol Hill has expanded.
It's growing a little bit better, yeah, a little bit more.
Next door to his popular burger joint, Spike has opened up We the Pizza.
Right, exactly. Soon we're going to name the street after us now. Who knows?
It's serving up New York slices, sub salads, and homemade gelato.
Again, it's like we like good stuff. We want to apply to everyone's like flavor profiles. So we do have like all the classic pizzas that you would find in the classic New York style pizzeria, which is like a pepperoni and a cheese. But then we started to get really inventive, like the mushroom pie. It's not just like regular mushrooms just thrown on top of like, you know, tomato sauce and cheese. There's a lot of love that goes into the pie. We make a bechamel, we add truffles, we puree mushrooms, we make like this mushroom sauce. Yeah, it's the toppings. We're all about the toppings. At the burger place, the pizza, it's what brings flavor to food, so.
We knew that the Obamas were fans of good stuff. What about We the
big
Pizza?
Highlight. I forgot about that. Exactly. Well, you know, yeah, Michelle Obama's been coming in with the girls a couple times at Good Stuff, and last time she came into Good Stuff, I told her she has to come by We the Pizza and check out, you know, New York Slice, and the next week she was here, and Tasha Malia came. They got a couple homemade sodas, they got a couple slices of pies, and they loved it. So. I guess the first family's a fan. It's not a bad thing.
It's a pretty good
endorsement.
endorsement.
It's a pretty good endorsement.
Right.
I'd have to say, above all, that's probably the best thing that has happened out of this whole entire, you know, it's an honor to cook for the First Family anytime you get a chance to. And, you know, we help each other out. She supports me, and I support her initiative to reform school lunches and in these charter schools, and you know, going and doing my part with teaching kids how to eat properly, how to cook a little bit better. So it's a great relationship we got going on.
Washington has always been a place where young people come to make their mark, whether that means communicating the president's message to the American people or building the best hamburger in town. Washington is a great place to be young. For CBSNews.com, I'm Kaylee Hartung.
And it's also a good place to be, shall we say, middle-aged. That's it for Washington Unplugged today. Join us here every day on CBSNews.com. I'll see you back on TV again Sunday on Face the Nation. I'm Bob Schieffer. Hope you have a good day.